Okay, hello there. We are on chapter 6 here, and I am. This is another long chapter, so I may split this video up because the maximum amount to go here is 28 minutes. To try to summarize this whole chapter, I'll start with the title. And the title is The Megapolitics of the Information Age, the Triumph of Efficiency over Power. Um, okay, so I have like 20, I don't know, 30 keynotes on this. Um, so to summarize it is not going to be easy for me. Can you judge a chapter by its title? I don't know. I guess to summarize this whole chapter, it just it's very hard to summarize. I go with the title: efficiency over power. They're saying triumph of efficiency over power. Efficiency is not always better than power. um, I think the authors talk about how inefficient uh, democratic welfare state or democratic socialism was inefficient, but it ended up being better than useful in the industrial age. I There are examples when efficiency is worse than power, but they're just claiming that efficiency is triumph over power. You can look at it in terms of Darwinian selection as like a creature that adapts to its environment, optimizes its efficiency. Kind of go back to the giraffe example where this giraffe has a really long neck because the leaves on the tree are way up there, and so it became more efficient for the giraffe to have a long neck to eat all the leaves off the tree. Um, However, that reduced efficiency in having a less agile body. The giraffe could have evolved to climb up the tree and be like a tenth of the size of the giraffe to get the leaves that are way up there, and that would be a better form of efficiency. Okay, so I'm probably gonna end up splitting this video up into multiple sections, like I say, um, but we'll just go through one keynote at a time. And I got the alarm system going on here. I have to disconnect that thing. Um, I should also turn off all these other annoying interruptions. I don't know if you've ever seen that Corona commercial where you have a cell phone. Sometimes it's good just to toss your cell phone into the ocean so you don't have to worry about it, especially if you've got Corona. Um, so I'm just going to remove this distraction of the universe and just by lowering the volume. There we go. Okay, so my first keynote is a direct quote, page 155. Welfare state and the trade union were both, this is a direct quote from the author. Welfare state and the trade union were both artifacts of technology, sharing the spoils of the triumphs of power over efficiency in the 20th century. It appears to me that the author has the cause and effect mixed up here. Welfare of technology companies resulted in technology, not the other way around. The reason why I say this is take, for example, global positioning system, GPS. Okay, you got your cell phone. You got this thing that you might want to throw in the ocean because you got Corona or whatever. Uh, it most likely has global positioning system technology in it, and that was not a capitalist project, other than, I mean, in terms of funded project. Okay, that was a government funded project by the U.S. military. Um, that's welfare. That's corporate. That's taxpayer subsidized welfare. Okay, that's you can either pay welfare to a homeless person on the street, or you can pay welfare to somebody who builds GPS technology. I mean, I both of them are. And I mean, provides a lot of leverage. The guy in the street's got an immediate problem, uh, but they're both welfare. They're both subsidized. Okay, and so the author says that the welfare state and trade union were both artifacts of technology. Like sharing the triumph, spoils the triumph of power over efficiency in 20th century. Um, I just kind of feel like they got the cart before the horse, or not the cart before the horse. What occurred first and resulted in what. So, um, so on page 157, if you have comments on that, just put a comment down below. I'd love to talk about it. So my next keynote on page 157, it's about the World Wide Web. I was taking on authors are saying it's kind of taking on characteristics of biology. Quote directly, our fabrications will learn, adapt, heal themselves, and evolve. This is a power we have hardly dreamt of yet. It's kind of like Elon Musk's idea of Neuralink. I kind of look at this as there's some big brother type problems or 1984 type issues. Uh, Unless it's all open source. In other words, all the code, including the hardware, uh, hardware manufacturing, all the way down to the transistor, and the code is all open source. That way, at least some people who can identify a problem can point it out to everybody and say, hey, we got Big Brother X screwing around with everybody, and so we don't want that, so we'll fix it. Open source, I think, is much better for a sovereign individual, and it also benefits everybody. I mean, it allows for a lot more distribution of power. So, um, so my next keynote is keynote number 3, page 157. Quote directly from the author: "There has always been a strong tendency for social systems to mimic the characteristics of prevailing technology." And this is something that Karl Marx got right. Gigantic factories coincide with the age of big government. Microprocessing is miniaturizing institutions. Um, okay, so basically, what the author's saying is, now I don't know if you read Karl Marx, or I haven't read any other than that extremely dangerous and scary book called The Communist Manifesto. I don't know why this is such a scary book. I mean, it's like, but it is. It's just information. Uh, so I guess what the authors mean by this is something that Karl Marx got right. I'm assuming that they mean that he got everything else wrong. I don't know, maybe. Huh. Uh, but yeah, it makes sense that I mean it's just an environment adaptation of the system. Technology is just like, okay, like a giraffe's neck grows longer. That's its technology, and because it adapts to the tree being taller. Um, so now the trees end up growing taller. Okay, so my next keynote number 4 is the author quotes another author named Heinz Pagel's book, Dreams of Reason, and he says, "I am convinced uh, convinced that nations and people who master the new science of complexity will become the economic, cultural, and political superpowers in the next century." I don't. I honestly do not know how science of complexity is going to be an advantage. I don't even know what science of complexity is, or if it's just hype. I have to read that book and go down a rabbit hole, and maybe to nowhere. Uh, I know you want a system to be simple. I mean, I don't know if you heard the term Occam's razor. The simpler the system is, you can get more efficiency that way. I think patents kind of work in the same manner. It's like, can you do something with less parts? Great example also is electric car. Electric cars have I mean, compared to a regular fossil fuel engine, you eliminate almost all the parts in the fossil fuel engine, so you have almost nothing left. Electric car, you don't have to have carburetors, you don't have to have pistons, you don't have to have crankshafts, you don't have to have exhaust, you don't have to have fuel tanks, you don't have to have radiator, other than maybe a small one. No, there's no radiator. You don't have to have incredible number of parts. No spark plugs, no distributor. You eliminate all that. Less stuff fails. Less less components to fail. Okay, the more complex your system is going to be, the more ways it's going to be able to fail. So I don't know if the author here. I don't see that. Uh, I don't see that as an advantage. Um, and it might be an advantage if you have artificial intelligence trying to understand a complex model that no human can really model. That might make sense. That's maybe what the intent of the author is trying to say. Science of complexity. Um, if you have a control system where it's try to uh, model something that is very difficult to model, that's science of complexity. Maybe that's what the intent is. So if anybody wants to read the book by Mr. Heinz Pagel, you might be able to discover something interesting. Okay, the next section, keynote number 5, page 158. I'll quote the author directly. The primary goal of the government is to provide protection against violence. I agree with that. I mean, in my opinion, the U.S. is not doing a good job at this, unfortunately. I mean, if you just read Noam Chomsky's work to find out, but be sure if you do read Noam Chomsky, if you have a seatbelt, you might want to put your patriotism in a seatbelt because whatever patriotism you have for the United States is going to be shocked. I guess not many people know about Noam Chomsky probably because, or don't want to know, because you'd have to see him talk to kind of understand. I mean, I guess maybe his method of communicating is different, but uh, but yeah, I mean that's why you have. I mean, I totally agree though. Like, the primary goal of government is to provide protection against violence. I mean, you could also say safety. And sometimes you call police force Department of Public Safety, um, even though you have lethal weapons. It's in theory, you could have a police force without lethal weapons, but being based on the laws of physics, being extremely powerful without having to physically harm people. You just have to be smart enough to figure out how to do that. The next keynote, number 6, page 159. Online businesses are much more agile than material location dependent businesses. I got all kinds of spelling errors and English grammar problems in my capital letters and lowercase letters in my notes. Okay, so the authors quote an old Chinese folk wisdom. I'll quote is, of all the 36 ways to get out of trouble, the best way is to leave. Oh, makes sense, I guess. It kind of goes with a lot of the Zen philosophy, I think, or maybe Taoism. I don't know. Okay, page 160, keynote 7. We got the author describes a strike by union with Caterpillar that led to advancement of assembly line technology and robots. Um, yeah, throughout this book, the authors talk about how employees can damage production lines, cause all kinds of messes and problems with unions, and then shut down a huge factory. Um, and that makes sense. I mean, they just kind of so okay. This is what happened. There's a big strike. They also kind of talk about how most factory jobs are not really skilled labor. I mean, they want to make it so that if you have one person that has like one brain cell, they still can do their job in the factory, the one little tiny step. And then they got another person that's brain bigger, 10 times bigger than Albert Einstein, doing the same job, and they both could do the same job, pretty much the same. And so, um, the next keynote, page 161, this is keynote number 8. I have exploitation of capitalists by workers. Seems to be the author's theme. It doesn't seem to be any mention of the other way around. In other words, capitalists exploiting labor people, i.e., people exchange hours for dollars. I call this a money slavery. If you exchange your time for money, you're basically a slave to money because you are physically sacrificing your body for an hour. You're lending, you're giving an hour of your lifetime to somebody else to profit off that hour. They make a profit off your hour, and you know it's if you depend on money in exchange for your time, you are a slave to money. That's the way I look at it. Because you look at your lifetime, if you only live like, I mean, the average age maybe like 80 years, or if you're real lucky, you can live to 120 years with a smile on your face. Uh, but what's that? What's 120 years divided by infinity before your life and infinity after your life? That's zero. That's so you can't put a value on your time. You really, I mean, we try to be practical with accounting, uh, put value on your time. Your time is invaluable. You can't replace it. There's just not. There's no replacing your time. You could have all the money in the universe, more money than ever created in human history, and that still would not replace the 1 hour of your time. So that just can't. So now you can hire people to do stuff you don't like to do. Um, with money, and money provides convenience, but your time is more valuable than any money in the world. So, um, but most people exchange their time for money, and that's probably the if you're an entrepreneur, that's probably the worst thing. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's the most. It's just the most common way of doing things, and I could probably talk for 8 hours just on that one topic. Uh, so okay, so I was just saying that the most of this book I'm seeing is just labor exploiting capitalists, which is really kind of an interesting perception. I can see it in some cases, but I kind of see it. I really kind of see that the other way around. But I mean, it's definitely true. You have a union that shut down a $500 billion factory for lose $500 billion a day or an hour because it's shut down. I mean, I could see that, yeah. But then why were you such a bad manager that your whole team of factory workers got upset at you? I mean, to me, it looks like it's bad leadership. You know, if you're such a bad leader that your whole group of factory workers decided to, basically cause your whole company to lose $500 billion an hour, you know, something's wrong with the leadership. But that's just my perception. Okay, so keynote number 9 is page 162. Uh, the authors talk about Adam Smith, who wrote the book Wealth of Nations back in I think it's like the 1700s. Uh, this is after it died, not the calendar. There's other calendars that have different numbers of years. Uh, back at the time of Adam Smith, unions were illegal in much of the United States and Great Britain. Also in Adam Smith's time, I believe they were also slaves, which were legal. So you could be basically put in chains and locked up and be forced to make I don't know dildos. I mean, so you got to put things in the context here. It's like okay, labor unions were illegal, but slavery was also legal. The authors don't mention that, but okay. Um, on page 165, keynote number 10, the author talks about more on union power to cause employers to go broke. Well, I mean, I kind of look at the slave master kind of caused the slaves to kind of go broke. I mean, not go broke, but they gave them food, so they could be good slaves. Uh, I mean, in a way, you got to look at it. The union was kind of like, okay, they're money slaves, not legalized slaves, but they're money slaves, and there are there's a, basically you look at the ecosystem or biological system. Okay, it's kind of like you just got a certain number of creatures that are like basically trying to stand up for themselves, and the cell system kind of malfunctions. But it's almost like autophagy. I don't know if you've heard of autophagy. It's like when a cell loses its fuel system, it starts producing lysosomes. There's a Japanese scientist that actually photographed that through a microscope. It's kind of interesting. The cell actually destroys itself to make better cells. So it's a little bit of evolution. Um, so, okay, so next keynote number 11, page 167. Oh yeah, I actually discussed this a little earlier. It's about a genius and a moron doing the same uh, same step in a process of manufacturing. Because the way I design it that way so it minimizes your labor costs. So you can have a monkey and a fish do the same thing. I don't know how you get a fish to do something. But, maybe bite a worm. uh, okay, so next keynote, number 12, page 168. Author talks about unions fading due to globalization and internet. Um, my perception of that is, I mean, it seems like what has happened more so is that the factories have moved over from the United States to China and other countries where labor is cheaper, and because labor is cheaper, it's much harder for a union to fight against cheap physical labor for a factory. So a lot of the factories have moved overseas. I think has also happened is I think that's kind of like blue collar labor. Is the one specific kind, and that's factory labor moved overseas because capitalists have found a cheaper labor wage slave or money slave, cheaper money slaves to build things such as your iPhone or televisions. Pretty much everything is made in China. I mean, like this watch that I have doesn't really say where it's made. I don't know. But so where was I? I'm running out of time here because I have to go get some wind. Um, okay, so I'll just do one more. Actually, I'll stop here. I just have a minute left. And where I'm at, it's like 110 degrees Fahrenheit outside, which is probably almost like 40 something Celsius. It's pretty toasty, but I'm actually going to go outside and go sailing. But so I left off. I have to kind of make a note of where I left off here. And I'll just make another video. I'm going to try to upload this while I'm gone. And everybody there, looks like it's a 28-minute video. Okay, well, I'll see you next time, and we'll do a second part of chapter 6. I should be able to finish it off in 2 videos. And I don't know what's going on in your universe, but it's very hot here. And I'm just going to chill out. I don't know how you chill out when it's 110 degrees outside. Drink lots of water. Um, so, the more you read, the more you realize, the less you know, which is actually kind of neat. It's kind of fun. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next chapter 6, part 2. And hasta la vista.